Hey guys, I am a nerd fighting fat, and this is my first in a series I'm calling This is the Way. And this video is basically on fasting and why I use fasting and how I use it, and why I think it really is one of the main keys to help us in our battle against fat. So, to start off with, I got diagnosed with diabetes type 2 back in January 21. So, it was the middle of COVID. I went to the doctor and I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You know, it's kind of a rough time to get this kind of a diagnosis. There wasn't a lot. We were kind of all in lockdown at the time. And so, I had to kind of figure out how can I change my diet, all of these types of things. So that's what started me to grow a lot of my own food hydroponically because it was the middle of winter. Anyway, but basically, what this diagnosis means is that I'm insulin resistant. Uh, so I guess a lot of you guys might be in the same boat as I am. Maybe you're diabetic, maybe you're pre-diabetic, maybe you're insulin resistant. Odds are, if you're a big guy like me, uh, you might have insulin resistance. The sad thing is they don't really typically measure insulin when they're doing your blood work. They'll check your A1C and so forth, and they used to check mine, and they would look at me and say, the one guy actually, I kid you not, he looked at me and said, by your blood work, you're one of the healthiest guys in this company. And he looked down, he looked back at me, and he's like, but you're not. And he couldn't understand why my blood work looked so good. And honestly, it probably was missing them checking my insulin, right? Because I'm sure at that point, that was just a couple of years before. Boom, I have diabetes. So, anyways, that's kind of what started me a little bit down this road towards fasting. And I'll explain here as we go through this. So, insulin. What is this stuff? Why is this such a critical thing? So, basically, in a nutshell, insulin is what your body uses to regulate the sugar. So, it directs insulin directs your cells to use the glucose in the bloodstream. So basically, it tells your cells to quit using stored energy and divert themselves to the new energy that's coming in. So one of the guys whose books I've read is Dr. Fung, and he wrote a book called Obesity Code. And I was watching one of the interviews with him, and he basically stated that even if you're eating like a minimal amount of calories, you cannot use the fat or you can't lose weight if you've got insulin in your bloodstream. And that really resonated with me because I've been big my entire life. I've tried every diet under the sun, and I remember tracking exactly. I put myself on a 2,500 calorie diet, and by my basal metabolic rate, right, I was eating way under what my body was burning, and I was gaining 2 or 3 pounds every week, and it absolutely boggled me. Like, what am I supposed to do here? And anyway, so this makes sense. If you've got this insulin in your bloodstream, it won't let you use your stored energy. So as a result, instead of using your stored energy, you get tired, you get lethargic. And anytime you have excess glucose in your blood, it's going to get easily converted into fat because that's there. So there's two types of diabetes. Type 1 is when your pancreas doesn't make enough insulin, and you'll see a lot of like kids or things like that. And then the second type is where your cells become resistant to insulin. That's type 2 diabetes, and that's what I have. And basically, because your blood sugars remained elevated for all this time, eventually, and the insulin's always there, eventually the cells are like, go away, don't bother me. It's like the boy that cried wolf, right? It's just like, it's just always there. And so over time, you become more and more resistant to this, and then you have diabetes. So again, the insulin regulates the blood sugars. So the way this comes back to your weight loss, and really affects you, this insulin resistant, is that a normal person, when they eat, when you eat, your glucose will spike. So a normal person, their glucose spikes 10x, and then it takes roughly about 2 hours to come back down. Uh, an, ins- an insulin resistant person, you're going to spike twice as high, and it's going to take 4 hours to come down. So it's going to take twice as long to get those blood sugars back down. So the average person is mostly eating carbs, which is what will spike your blood sugars. They estimate 70% of the calories worldwide are carbs that people consume, and the average person is eating every 1.5 hours. So if you think about, a normal person takes 2 hours to come down, but a resistant person takes 4 hours to come down, and you're eating every few hours. You have like your breakfast, and then maybe a morning snack, and then lunch, and then an afternoon snack, and then dinner. There's never a chance for that insulin to come down. There's no chance you have to drop any weight. If you think about those old diets, one of the things they specifically told me, I need to eat small meals every couple hours. I've been like, had nutritionists like lay it out for me. You need to follow this, and it didn't work. Well, now we know why it didn't work. Is because of this kind of thing. And so a normal person, and this maybe even before I was insulin resistant, still takes 2 hours to come down. So if you're eating these small meals every so often, if you're a grazer kind of thing, it's not the best situation if you're trying to lose weight. And again, so with that glucose in your bloodstream, that's going to trigger that insulin, which we just kind of talked about. Okay. So, which brings us to my theory number one. So, one of the things I see them always saying is that, oh, sleep's important for weight loss. Sleep's important for weight loss. Well, why is that? And personally, I think that is because essentially while we're sleeping, we're not eating, we're fasting. So that's like a lot of like, and the longer you sleep, the longer you're fast. And we'll talk about how you start getting some of these effects. And I think for a lot of people, that's the only time their body really has without this elevated insulin and blood sugars in their body. And so that's why a lot of times I think it has shown that sleep is important for weight loss. Anyway, that's my theory. And I also have another theory. My theory number two is that one of the reasons that these GLP-1, like Mounjaro, which I'm currently taking right now to control my diabetes, one of the reasons that those are effective for weight loss is that they're helping us control the blood sugar and thus the insulin. So, there's been a lot of appetite suppressive drugs over the years, but they never really have worked as well to help people drop weight as this latest batch. But these weren't actually made for weight loss. Now, they've rebranded. Ozempic came out with Wegovy. Mounjaro has now come out with Zepbound, with versions targeted for weight loss. But it's the same medicine. And these were actually made to control your diabetes. But I think as a side effect of that, along with the appetite suppression, the fact that it's helping control that insulin and the blood sugars, that's what makes those things actually work. All right, so back to fasting. So basically what fasting is doing is allowing you to give yourself a break from glucose. So after 4 to 8 hours, your blood sugars fall, all your food's left your stomach, and the insulin's no longer made. If you think about what I mentioned about sleep, right? Typically people will sleep 6 to 8 hours. And so that gives you a chance to get all of that out of your bloodstream and give your body a chance to basically take a break from being in that mode. One thing I've kind of thought about here is, if you're taking Mounjaro or Ozempic or one of these GLP-1s that kind of slow your digestion a little bit, is it possible it could take a little bit longer for this to happen? Just a thought I had. Anyhow, typically with fasting after 12 hours, your consumed food is burned, your digestive system is going to sleep, so it's getting a break, and your HGH is increasing, your human growth hormone, and then your glucagon is relaxed, which helps balance the blood sugars. Now, HGH, it's a peptide that's going to stimulate regeneration. So if you think about regenerating old cells, helps with your muscle growth, helps with your bone density, those kinds of things. So it's a really good thing to have. Now, I remember when I was younger, like at first I would skip breakfast a lot, and then, oh no, you can't skip breakfast. That's not good for your weight. Well, again, they were just basically putting me back to that 8 hour range from the 12 hour range. So it's funny how our understanding of things changes over time. With 14 hours, that's when your body starts switching to ketones. So I have a ketone meter that I can breathe into, and it'll tell me if I'm uh, burning ketones or not. Um, that basically means instead of using sugar for energy, your body converts your fat cells directly into these ketones, and it uses it for fuel. It's actually very good for your brain, and so it gives you more mental clarity and sharpness. And then also your human growth is increasing even more. Your human growth hormone. After 6 hours, that's when your body really ramps up the fat burning. So you see a lot of these intermittent fastings things where they do like a 16-8 window. So that's where you get up to with 16 hours of fasting, is that you've cleared your blood sugars out. You're getting the benefits of this human growth hormone. You're using some ketones, so you're burning some fat. You're really ramping up burning that fat. And normally, this is where a lot of people that do intermittent fasting start eating again. But let's look at what happens if we keep going. So this is what I put on here as extended fasting. So to really ramp up the benefits. So after 18 hours, your human growth hormone really skyrockets. After 24 hours, that's when we bring in our new player. So this is called autophagy. We'll talk here about that a little bit more in a second. But that starts occurring. Your glycogen store is completely drained, and the ketones are now getting completely released into the bloodstream. After 36 hours, your autophagy goes way up. After 48 hours, it goes up even more. And the other nice thing about that, at this point, your immune system is getting reset, and it's also helping with inflammation reduction. Now, you get a lot of inflammation from different things. Diabetes, a lot of people have inflammation causing like swollen legs and these kinds of things. This can help with that. After 72 hours is when you kind of get everything maxed out from this. So that's like a 3-day fast. So that's when you pretty much max out the benefits. There's still some other benefits. I shouldn't say you max out the benefits, but that's as far as we're going with this. That's when you've got ketosis going, you've got autophagy going, you've got your human growth hormone. That's the stuff that I'm shooting for. If you go longer than that, by the way, I would also recommend for sure doing this under advice of a doctor. And you might want to check anyhow with your doctor and just let them know you're going to be doing this and see if they have any concerns. Some people, everybody's different, as far as our health is. So let's talk a little bit more about autophagy. So basically, it means self-eating in Greek, right? You're eating yourself. And so what autophagy is your body is consuming your old cells, your broken cells, your unneeded cells, all that kind of thing. One of the reasons I personally really want this autophagy to occur is I'm hoping to lose large amounts of weight. And as you do that, you can get loose skin. And one of the issues, it's just one of the issues that you get, right? Your skin has added a lot of cells to hold all this mass in, and suddenly that mass is gone, and you don't need that skin anymore. And autophagy can help you to reduce those cells you don't need anymore. Another benefit is this inflammation, right? It helps to reduce that inflammation. I mentioned the swollen legs with diabetes, but cancer, heart disease, these are all kind of inflammation issues. So that's a really good one. And then the last one is it removes the toxic proteins from your brain. So things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, those kinds of things. I forget. I'm just kidding. No, but those are like things of your brain that affect your brain, it affects your memory. It'll help remove some of those toxic proteins from your brain. So all definitely good things that can help us. All right, so let's talk about how long I personally fast for. So what's my fasting time window? So I showed you all those benefits, and I like those benefits. And what I've kind of chosen to do is what's called ADF, or alternate day fasting. But I did tweak it a little bit. Traditional ADF is basically you fast a day, you eat a day. You fast a day, you eat a day. You fast a day, you eat a day. Um, I have kind of updated that to work with my personal situation. Let's first, before I talk about that, let me talk about why I picked this alternate day fasting. I canvassed a lot of different videos and stories online, and I've tried tons of diets in the past, so I kind of know which things have worked. I experimented with shorter periods of fasting with some success, but it seemed like the ones that I found that had been really big like me and managed to get it off and to keep it off were using alternate day fasting, and so that's kind of why I went with this. In addition to the benefits of the fat burning and the autophagy, just gave me faith to see other people having success with this. I think that's always gives you the warm and fuzzy that, hey, this could work for me too. Now back to how I tweak this. What I kind of decided to do. Some people call it 5-2 fasting, but basically, instead of doing every other day, as they do, I just do it 2 times a week. So I pick Tuesday and Thursday. That leaves the weekends open. So if we do some trips, or we go camping, or I do some grilling or smoking smoking meat, that we can do that. It leaves Mondays open. A lot of times Monday is a 3-day weekend. It's the holidays, so you have family get-togethers, those kinds of things. That leaves my Friday open. That's when we like to go. My wife and I go on our date night, so I don't have to worry about I'm in the middle of fasting on date night. And again, sometimes you take off half a day Friday or the full day Friday to go on your weekend adventure. And then basically Wednesday's a break day in between. And then occasionally, if I choose to, I could do a 3-day fast and just go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I haven't done that yet. I might try it one of these tight days, but that's kind of how I kind of tweak this to fit with my personal life and schedule. So basically, what I do is I eat my dinner on Monday night, just normal with the family, and then I don't eat again until Wednesday morning. So I wake up, right there, 8 hours of that is sleep. I go through the day on Tuesday, and then I have another 8 hours of sleep, and then I can eat. So basically, I get 2 36-hour fasts in a week. I do the Tuesday, and then I do the same thing Wednesday night. Wake up on Friday morning is when I eat again. So to keep the ketosis going when I break my fast, I like to do. I try to keep the carbs down a little bit on the meal immediately after I've been fasting. So I'll do like a protein drink. I'll do like a bulletproof coffee equivalent. I don't drink coffee, but like a herb tea with some butter and collagen protein, or some things like that, or just some organic eggs and bacon. I like the organic eggs because the omega-3, omega-6 ratios are a little bit better in the organic eggs. Anyhow, but that's kind of how I like to break my fast. And essentially, I just don't want to shock my system with boom sugar. That's not what I want to do. So kind of keep the good times going for a little bit and kind of ease back into eating. All right. So just in summary, to me, this is the easiest diet ever. I've tried a lot of diets, and it can be hard not to eat sometimes, but there's no preparing of special foods. There's no counting calories required. You can still count the calories if you want to on the days that you eat. I like to do that sometimes because I'm a data nerd, but you don't have to. You don't have to buy any special food. You don't have to figure out your eating windows. Get some app to say, hey, okay, you can eat now. Oh, no, can't eat. No, no. You don't have to deal with that with alternate day fasting because it's just, I know that on Tuesdays I'm not going to eat anything. I'm not worried about it. I don't have to think about it. I simply don't eat on my fast days. So, easiest diet ever. Okay, so I do have some tips for you guys if you guys want to try this. Again, it can be hard not to to eat for that long if you're not used to it. So some people get very, we like the term hangry. If they don't eat, they get kind of irritable and ornery. I've never really had that issue, but start small, right? So start skipping breakfast, and then maybe kind of increase your fasting windows from there. Um, while you're going through this, definitely keep drinking water. We're not doing a religious fast of food and water. We're giving our body a time without the food, and so tea, coffee, if you drink that, is okay. Just try to skip the sugar. Sweeten it with natural sweeteners like stevia or allulose. Uh, Tip three: sugar-free drinks, maybe. Uh, so some people react to some of these artificial sweeteners by releasing insulin. So the way you can tell this, if you have a CGM, so I've got one here, which is a continuous glucose monitor. What you can do is you can drink a diet soda with the sweetener you want to check, and see if your blood sugar drops. If it drops, then what you know is that your body released insulin in response to that. And so you know that sweetener probably is not one you want to be consuming when you're trying to basically get the insulin out of your system. So that's just a really easy way to check that. Tip four would be electrolytes. So I thought I had a thing of electrolytes here. And here it is. So I like to use these Element electrolytes. This is an unflavored one. This is really good for your fasting days because there's no sweeteners. You can also get the different flavors are fine too if they don't affect you too badly. They got some really delicious flavors, actually. I really like their citrus and their orange flavors, and I like their chocolate flavors. They just came out with some new ones that are pretty good too: mint chocolate, raspberry chocolate. Anyway, electrolytes are good because one of the things that you run into when you're fasting is that your body's still going through stuff. You're still peeing, so you're losing salt, you're losing the potassium and manganese are the three, or magnesium, not manganese. Don't get those elements. They're two different elements. Magnesium. Those are the three things that these have in them. So basically, you'll know if this is going to help you if when you're fasting, you get a little bit dizzy, you get a little brain fog, maybe a little bit of a headache. That's when you can try mixing some of this into your water and see if that helps. And then the last tip is what I call emergency measures. These are when I just can't make it. I got to have something. I got to eat something. And so, some of the things that are somewhat okay. I mean, again, it's the cleaner you can fast, the better it's going to be. But if you're having a really hard time, it's better to kind of do as well as you can than nothing, right? So, bone broth is a good thing. There's a brand called Kettle and Fire that has some different bone broths. They have like a chili beef and a turmeric and ginger chicken broth. Those are pretty tasty. So I just got me like a little mug that I can put those in and heat it up in the microwave, and those are pretty good. Some sugar-free gum. Usually sugar-free gum is sweetened with xylitol, so it's like a sugar alcohol. Usually pretty safe to have, especially it's just one little piece. Cinnamon gum can also help suppress your appetite. So just whatever you do, avoid the carbs if you can. But there are people that will do they'll have like a very low amount of calories and call that their fasting day. So like 400 or 500 calories a day, and they still call it fasting. And like one of the diets that I was on at one point, my wife wanted me to try I think it was called isogenics, and basically I had this drink, and the only thing you drink for the day was this drink, and it was essentially like a 250 calorie drink. Essentially, they were basically making you fast, but they were saying that it was their drink that was giving you all the benefits. So kind of interesting when I look back at some of the things I've done. So anyhow, those are some tips for you that you can use while you're doing your fast. And then lastly, this is the way, really. Prepare to drop some weight when you're doing this, because I've had success. I've seen other people have success. If you really do this, um, it's great. Not only are you giving your body a chance to actually burn your fat, clearing that insulin out of your bloodstream. If you just go by the numbers, right? If you eat normally as you were before you started doing this, you're now 2 days out of the 7, or 3 days, or 4 days if you do the full ADF out of the 7. You're eating, at least a third to a half less than you used to do. So, if you think about it, uh, you're I mean, just by that, if you're like a calories in, calories out, and I know that's absolutely bogus in my opinion, but if you look at those numbers, you should hopefully, drop some weight. But I mean, that whole thing about getting the insulin out of you, letting your body burn ketones and all that kind of stuff, that, people go on those ketogenic diets to try to kind of do the same thing, right? Where they eliminate carbs and so forth. There's different approaches, but this one's so easy. I mean, you don't have to go figure out how to recreate your recipe, with grinding up pork rinds to coat your chicken tender instead, all that kind of stuff, right? So, the benefits, they're tangible. Like I said, I've dropped nearly 100 pounds before I started using GLP-1s to help. These do help too. These suppress your appetites. It makes it way easier to fast, in my opinion. You get used to it. My family gets used to it too. They know on Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm fasting, so they don't worry about trying what do I want for dinner. They know I don't want dinner. They get used to it too. So, and having that consistency has been great, right? And that's the other thing that I like about what I did versus the true every other day. It's you're not fasting on the same day all the time. And the way I've done it too, I have all of my social interactions and stuff, and I don't have to worry um, about that, because typically Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm not doing a whole lot of things socially. So it's great. It's really worked great for me, and I hope that now you guys can understand this. And hopefully, if you give it a try, I hope it works well for you too. So um, to me, it's a great thing. So keep fighting the fat, guys. Cheers.